Hello and happy Friday. This is Pastor Chris coming back to you for your Friday Primer. Each and every week, we go over a little bit of what we will be doing on Sunday morning to get you ready for it. If you do not have a church home and would like to come and visit us, you are more than welcome. We're right here at 19 West Shannon, Spokane, Washington. Services are at 11 a.m. If you have a church home, we ask that you become a part of them and pour into them and make that place the best place it can possibly be. Well, if you've been with us for a few months, you know we worked our way through the book of Mark, and we've now finished that series, and we are in the book of 1 Samuel. Now, today, our passage is going to be fairly long range. It's almost the entire first chapter. On Sunday morning, we'll actually be discussing specifically verses 19 through 28. But here's a little background. There's this lady by the name of Hannah, and Hannah has an issue, and that is that she is barren. She cannot have children. And once a year, they go to the festival, and her husband has to give her a gift, as is custom. And yet, because she has no children, she gets a smaller gift than the ladies who do have children. And it brings her a lot of grief and a lot of sadness. It's a very public kind of humiliation for her failure to be a mother. And she takes this very personally. So this one year, she is there at the festival, and she can't handle it anymore. So she runs out and she begins to weep and to pray and ask God to deliver her from this pain and give her a child. Well, the high priest is there, and he thinks that she's been drinking and begins to reprimand her. And she explains herself. And he says, no, don't worry. God is going to give you a child. And she runs out of there, and she is full of hope. Now, verses 19 through 28, and I'll put it right here for the time being, share the story where she realizes that she has conceived, and then she gives birth. Now, here's the part we want to focus on today. We'll be starting down here at verse 24. It says this: when she'd weaned him, she took him up with her with a 3-year-old bull and 1 ephah of flour and a jug of wine, brought to him to the house of the Lord of Shiloh. Although the child was very young, then they slaughtered the bull, and they brought the boy to Eli. She said, "Oh, my Lord, as your soul lives, my Lord, I'm the woman who stood here beside you praying to the Lord. For this boy I prayed, and the Lord has given me my petition which I asked of him. So I have also dedicated him to the Lord. As long as he lives, he is dedicated to the Lord," and he worshiped the Lord there. You see, after God answered Hannah's prayer, she immediately took it upon herself to not only follow Old Testament law with all the sacrifices and taking him right to the temple, but just as she promised in her prayer, she is dedicating him to God. There may very well be something in your life that you have a certain amount of shame or fear or struggle with, and you've been praying consistently. My encouragement to you is exactly the same as Eli's to Hannah, and that is when you begin to let go of that and say, God, I desire this thing, I need this thing, yet you're going to get all the credit for it. In fact, so much so that in the case of Samuel, he was dedicated to the Lord, not only because Hannah desired this child so much and prayed so diligently, but because God answered her prayers, she knew that it wasn't of herself, and so she freely gave it. For me and for you, what is it you're holding on to in your life right now? Something that God has given you that you need to hold in an open hand instead of feeling like you've earned it. And what is it you desire? The thing that you feel like God is waiting to grant you. Maybe, just maybe, it's because you aren't willing to give him the credit for the answered prayer in the first place. Well, that's my encouragement to you, and I pray that this passage has lifted you up in the same way that it has lifted me up. If there's something in your life you'd like us to pray for, I would love to be part of it. You can put it in the comments right here below, and I'll contact you or just pray along with you. If there's anything else we here at Christ Central can do for you, just let us know. Well, God bless, and I will talk to you again next week.